Who's your favorite MCU superhero? Is it Iron Man, Captain America, Falcon? Yeah, probably not Falcon, but there are so many heroes to choose from in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that it's hard to choose one above all the others. Our favorite superhero actually works behind the scenes, and he's responsible for guiding the MCU to where it is today. He may not wear a cape, but Kevin Feige is our hero. And now that he's got a new job, everything is about to change for the better. How so? Well, stick around to find out. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles we never could. Nick Fury delivers this rousing speech to the Avengers to help them unite against Loki in the first Avengers movie. The heroes doubt in themselves and their abilities to work together, but we know it won't last. Eventually, they do assemble and save the day in a way only they could, promising us more adventures and a brighter tomorrow. But that quote from Fury could have been said by someone else too, someone behind the scenes who had an idea to bring the Avengers together with his own unique vision and passion to fight against the evil outside forces like wavering box office attendance and similarly dressed yet much darker themed rival superhero movies. That man is Kevin Feige, and he's one of the main reasons why the MCU has been so successful. Under his guidance, the MCU has thrived to become one of, if not the most popular and profitable franchises on Earth. But even we gotta say, we weren't quite sure this guy knew what he was doing way back when the MCU was in its early days. Iron Man was a huge success, sure, but did anyone really expect what came next? Tacked on at the end of Tony Stark's first adventure was a post-credit scene. This was back when not everyone knew to stick around to the very end of movies to see if there was an additional scene or not. We just got done watching a movie and chugging an extra large soda. Who's got time to sit around and watch credits when the bathroom beckons? But the end tag was something special. A one-eyed man promised Tony Stark and the audience something more in the future, something big. From there, the idea of a Marvel Cinematic Universe slowly started to take shape until it all culminated in a massive battle between heroes and villains, good and evil, every Avenger ever, versus the ultimate threat Thanos. Who could have predicted when Tony Stark ended his first solo movie telling the world that he was Iron Man that 11 years later, we would see a live-action Tony Stark wielding all the Infinity Stones against the Mad Titan to save the day? Certainly not us. But Feige worked hard to fight back against the naysayers and the doubters to do something truly extraordinary. And no matter what direction the franchise took, it always seemed well taken care of and under control. But as big as the MCU is, the Marvel Universe overall is even bigger. And even though Iron Man is taking an extended vacation to the farm where, your family dog went when you were a kid, Captain America is now collecting social security checks, and Spider-Man can't decide which universe he wants to stick around in, the franchise just keeps growing in awesome new directions. And because the brand is growing bigger than ever before, it was time for a major change with Feige and his role with the company. Recently, there's been a bit of a dark cloud around Feige's future with the MCU. Do you remember that funny dream we all experienced for a bit when it looked like Spider-Man was out of the MCU? Man, what a nightmare. That totally wasn't real life or anything, right? Well, one of the reasons that Sony threw out there of why Spider-Man was leaving the MCU was that Feige was too busy to produce another movie. We didn't believe it at the time, as it sounds like a fake excuse, but then it was announced that Feige was tapped to produce a brand new Star Wars movie, and some fans were starting to think that Feige was considering an exit of the MCU altogether to focus on building solo Star Wars movies and television series. As cool as it would be to see what Feige could do with the Star Wars franchise, we'd be devastated if Feige had to step away from the MCU, as it's mainly his vision that's led us to where the franchise is today. Could the man responsible for turning the MCU into what it is today be considering leaving it all behind? What would the MCU look like without Feige? Could it survive its transition into a new era without him? Would a Feige-less Marvel future just recast Iron Man with Robert Pattinson? We don't know. And thankfully, we never have to imagine that again, as not only was it announced that Feige was sticking around, but his new role gives him even more power over the Marvel brand. Man, we're lucky we like Feige, because this much power might be too much for even someone like Thanos to wield. Now, in a major announcement, Feige was revealed to have a new position within Marvel. He is now the Chief Creative Officer of Marvel Entertainment, which, okay, we admit on paper doesn't sound very exciting, but it's a title that could drastically change the MCU as we know it. Basically, it gives him creative control over everything, which means not just the MCU movies, but also the Marvel Comics and Marvel television shows too. Talk about being the man in the chair controlling everything. As important of a saying the whole "it's all connected" thing was in its early years, any big fan knows that the Marvel properties are far from being as connected as fans originally wanted. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the first television show to try to capitalize on the success of the movies by creating a TV show that closely tied in with movie events. Right off the bat, there seemed to be a huge problem with this. The show wasn't garnering a solid critical response, and it was clear it was dependent on movie events, which proved difficult to craft an entire show around. But it also revealed just how much the Marvel TV side and the Marvel film side don't talk and collaborate. The biggest, most recent example is in a later season. Before Infinity War, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents found out that a big threat was coming to Earth, and then a short time later, Infinity War started, and Thanos made its presence known. Sounds like the television was starting to merge with the big screen, right? Wrong! Marvel TV didn't know what the aftermath of Infinity War was going to be, and because snapping away half the population for 5 years makes it hard to continue on with the television show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. made the right call and just had the show ignore its big screen brethren. And then don't get us started on the Marvel Netflix shows. When those were first announced, everyone was excited. 4 street-level heroes with their own separate seasons of television before coming together for a Defenders miniseries? Immediately, it got everyone excited for when we would see the Defenders team up with the Avengers. But besides some vague references to the Battle of New York and some throwaway lines now and then, the Netflix shows seem to take place in a different world than the MCU, and the relationship between Marvel TV and Netflix only continued to grow more rocky with the announcement of Disney's own streaming service to rival Netflix, and one by one, the Netflix Marvel shows were given the axe. Sorry, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, you'll be missed. Iron Fist? Not so much. We think in a few years, we'll look back at the Netflix experiment as sort of a growing pain test for Disney Plus Marvel television shows. Although in theory it was a great idea to explore a more adult side of the MCU, they just didn't have the spectacle, the budget, or the ability to connect to the larger MCU movies in a good way. Disjointed is the best word that comes to mind when thinking about the connection between Marvel's films and television side, so we're happy that Feige's new role sounds like it will finally bridge the gap between all types of Marvel superhero media. With Feige in control of overseeing Marvel film, television, and comics, along with the fact that Disney Plus is coming to take our money, we're so excited to see the next phase of things regarding the MCU. It truly seems like Feige's biggest goal right now is developing new television shows around the MCU's most popular or underrated characters, as he probably sees the value of streaming and how important miniseries with movie-level budgets truly are to the future of media. Just as a brief overview, we have a Hawkeye show, a Loki show, a Scarlet Witch and Vision show, a Falcon and Winter team-up show, and those are just for the characters from the movies. The streaming service will also be the launchpad for brand new heroes to make their MCU debut, like Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel, among others. There's clearly a big push to make these series as important as the movies, and they're on the right track for some truly great things. With a competent figure like Feige in charge, we're confident that this will help the MCU expand to even greater heights than where it is now. Recently, Feige seems to have been locked in a war with his very own supervillain. The reclusive and controversial chairman of Marvel Entertainment, Ike Perlmutter, has seemingly been at odds with Feige for a while about the direction that Marvel should take. It got so bad that a complete corporate restructuring had to take place to separate the two of them. Originally, Feige had to report to Perlmutter, but he threatened to walk away from Marvel if there wasn't a change. This led to Feige being given the ability to answer to Disney film chief Alan Horn instead, which just sounded like a better situation for everyone involved. And now, with Feige being the new chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment, it sounds like Perlmutter is sidelined even more. So if you're a fan of what Feige's done with the franchise, and if you're watching this, chances are you're probably a fan, then this is great news. It truly is a great time to be an MCU fan, as the future promises way more cohesion between all sections of Marvel. The most unknown and exciting aspect about all of this is the comic side of things. With Feige now overseeing all of it, does this mean that we'll see more comic material that directly aligns with the MCU? Sure, there's been spin-off comics and one-offs detailing some of the Avengers' adventures outside the movies, but there's still always something that felt like a huge disconnect between the comics and films. Now, that might all change with Feige in charge, and we couldn't be happier. It's an exciting time for the franchise, and in anybody else's hands, we'd be a little nervous, but time and time again, Feige has proven himself as someone who understands these characters and what makes them work on the big screen, so we're confident that he'll deliver the goods. Again, Marvel has always prided itself on the motto, "It's all connected," and now it's taking major steps to actually make that a reality. Well, that's our video talking about Kevin Feige's new Marvel job. What do you think of his new position? We think it's great for the brand, but how do you think it'll affect things going forward? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, be sure to subscribe for more awesome MCU content. Thanks for watching.